Hello everyone, welcome to the XRP Ledger Developer Series. I hope you enjoyed the first episode with Vice. Today with me is going to be Dr. Artur from XPMarket. I hope you enjoyed.
Your time again. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
It's my honor. Okay, so my first question is, how did you initially learn about XRPL and what was your occupation before you joined XRPL?
So when I learned about XRP Ledger, obviously I didn't know anything about it, and the only thing I knew was there's such currency called XRP, but back then I never ever thought about any underlying technology, because obviously when you have Ethereum, you kind of know that it runs on Ethereum and there are other tokens. When you talk about BNB, for example, you also know that there is a BNB chain, there are other tokens, and there's also layer 1 blockchain. But with XRP, it was very different also for many other people, because they knew there's XRP, but that's it. No one actually considered that there is a huge ecosystem behind it. And essentially how I learned about XRP Ledger is when myself and my team started coming up with an idea on what we can build and where we will build it. We started researching different blockchains, and our team members offered to do it on XRP Ledger because they had been following it. And I had no idea about it. I was very skeptical about XRP Ledger, so it took them some time to convince me to show the metrics. Plus, we actually built XPMarket to show those metrics, which helped. And this is how I personally learned about XRP Ledger. But before that, I didn't actually have anything to do with XRPL. I was a scientist. I worked in academia in biosciences. So I had to run a blockchain company alongside with academia. But when crypto stuff started to take too much time, so I could manage both positions, I left academia and moved to crypto space.
Perfect. So the next question is, what made you want to build on XRPL? And is there a personal moment or experience that sparked your interest?
The decision to build on XRP Ledger was, in essence, very much business driven. So since we were building a company, a for-profit company, we were looking how we can bring value, because if you don't actually bring value, it's less likely people will use your product. You have to solve some of their problems to ensure they will use your product. And when we were looking into XRP Ledger and other blockchains, we were basically doing a competitive analysis, seeing how much it will cost to build on other blockchains. And if we would speak about EVM chains, well, one of the drivers on EVM chains is that whenever you write a smart contract, you obviously have to be sure that it is secure. And to ensure that, you would have to audit it. And audits do cost a lot of money, to be honest. And that's one of the expensive graphs, which simply goes away on XRP Ledger. And it inherently makes it cheaper to build on XRP Ledger, no audits required. Then there's also a competitive landscape. What are the companies who are building on XRP Ledger? Do they have a similar product? And what about other blockchains? And when you compare side by side, you can see that there is much more opportunity on XRP Ledger. And even now, after so much time, there is a lot of opportunity. There are so many untapped markets on the ledger. Mm-hmm. So it's essentially a simple business decision, which kind of turned into company's ethos, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So if you could describe your personality using only one word, what would it be? And how do you think it shapes the way you contribute to the XP market?
So I guess we're talking about my personality, right? Because,
yes.
XPMarket has 3 founding members, and the benefit of having our team is that we are all super different, and our opinions pretty much will always never match.
Your personality, I mean, what's a word that you would describe your personality, and how does it benefit and how does it affect your project?
Well, I guess one of the personality traits which has been acquired came from the academia, and it's the way how I, for example, structure my research or thought process. And it makes it a little bit more systematic, I believe, rather than spontaneous. And in essence, it does help to build XPMarket because it helps to analyze the market, it helps to research your competitors, make comparative analysis, maybe employ some less widespread tools or ideas, and that in part what helps to grow the company.
Interesting. My next question is, when you think about the future, personal, not just the project, what's one thing you're really hoping to achieve or experience?
So when we talk about growing a company and experiencing something unusual, let's say, or as an achievement, I believe you want to see your company succeed, and this can be expressed in multiple ways. So, for example, one of our first milestones was when Ripple actually invested into our company. So, Ripple are our shareholders, and this was one of the first recognitions which actually told us that we are doing something that is actually required. And probably we're looking to extend this success. We want to grow XPMarket to not just multi-million company, but maybe hundreds of millions. Ideally, of course, we would like to become a unicorn. We do have a plan on how we would do that. How difficult it will be to execute is obviously another story, but the growth is something that I would like to see because, well, we all operate in financial markets because, well, crypto is a financial market. And in many cases, success is actually driven by the dollar value. And this is what we also are trying to achieve.
So I have heard the quotes, I have read the quotes by George Washington, if I'm not mistaken: early to bed and early to rise makes a man wealthy and wise. So what's your morning routine and what makes you productive?
Well, there is a meme right now on the internet where some personal coach is dipping his face into the water with ice.
Ashton Hall, like with the ice and...
I don't do that. I will never ever be able to wake up at like 4 a.m. That's impossible. But my normal routine starts at maybe 9, 10 a.m. And from that, I start with like checking my Telegram. I see whether there is any XPMarket support required because, well, as a CEO, I have to wear multiple hats, and community support sometimes is one of those because I have to go to make sure that, okay, no one having any issues. The product is working. I actually visited the web. Everything is fine. So I don't have to wake up other devs or panic. So all good. And then essentially it starts as a normal working day. Obviously, we do not work 9 to 5 as founders and yourself. You know that your normal working day is whenever you finished. There is like no day where you have done your job. It's a company. You cannot finish the job. So whenever you feel that you either have accomplished something or hit a milestone, or you feel you are tired or need to go and touch the grass or snow, depending on where you are. So this is how my day ends. But obviously I try to manage work-life balance. A lot of stuff is done from the computer screen, maybe not computer screen, but from the phone screen. And even when I go on vacation, obviously I have to make sure I have my mobile operator plan, which allows me the internet, so I can work even on from the holiday. So there is no actual routine other than to make sure we are doing what has to be done.
So what makes you productive? Because there's sometimes that you wake up like grumpy, or like what's the take that you do to be productive for the day and to start working, because it requires energy and, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a motivational coach because we all have to acknowledge that we cannot be 100% of time productive. We all have our ups and downs, and I believe this is why it's important to have a really supportive team, because sometimes you can tell your team like, hey guys, I just feel terrible. Maybe I won't pile in 100%, but 20%. So please take my remaining 80% and distribute among yourselves. And it obviously works both ways. If they are out somewhere, we will obviously take their work. But normally, what drives my motivation is essentially I want to make sure that we are delivering the best service that we can. Obviously, I do like to see the numbers grow since, again, we are for-profit company and we do rely on our user base. We rely on the general market. So one does not exclude another. So I do like to see how our unique number users go up or whether they go down and how I can solve this. I like to see whether I can tap into something new and find maybe a new solution to a problem that we had like half a year ago, but didn't know how to solve it, because obviously with the emergence of AI, that becomes possible. And we do use AI quite a bit. It does help in ideation stages and even completion of the projects. So basically being productive is like one of the motivations, and wanting to see your company succeed is also one of the motivations.
Mhm.
But again, since we are a company who also have other employees, I have to make sure that we are able to pay salaries, and I want to make sure my employees are happy. So that's another motivation.
That's one of the biggest motivation to work harder.
Yes,
Because at the end of the month you have to pay salaries.
exactly.
So we know that the weather is not always sunny. There is rainy days, there is snowy days, there is stormy days as well. So what's the time you face the big challenge, either in your personal life or in this project in the XP market, and how did you push through it?
Again, since we have three co-founding members and even more people who help to work us, if sometimes even if we see a terrible market condition or we see something is not going as right as we would like, we can simply hop on a call and just chat about it. So for example, just past week we spent 2 hours talking on the phone about everything, about the market, about the politics, because it helps us to vent out, because we have to release the stress, we have to communicate, see how our team members feel, because if someone doesn't feel right, maybe he also needs to express his emotions. So that's like a small emotional support group. But also in this emotional support group, we take business decisions. At the end of the day, every political and economical impact has an impact on us as well. And we have to react on it. We have to decide whether we have to pivot somewhere. Do we have to change our strategy? Does it affect us at all? Is there a market opportunity with this downside or upside? And how we are going to move forward. So no super secret sauce here. Just stay in communication, even when you're in a remote work as we are.
So would you be able to share like one of the challenges that you have faced? So more physically, like a story time. Like what's a big challenge?
Okay, let's find some good examples, because in a startup, every week is a challenge and you have to overcome those. Obviously, they all differ in the magnitude, but well, let's see. Some of them obviously are linked to the global economy, so we'll probably try to avoid that. Then we might think, oh, let's actually focus on XRP, because that's a good example that many people will be able to relate. And since we are a company who also has XRP in reserves, so, like MicroStrategy, they have Bitcoin in reserve.
Mhm.
Obviously, we don't do that. We have XRP in reserve.
Exactly.
Yes. But we also have to be realistic and understand that XRP in reserve is not something that you will hold forever and treasure it through like decades and hundreds of years. you also have to have a comprehensive exit strategy, how you're going to take this XRP and what you're going to do with it. Even such simple things like how are you going to hold this XRP? Where? Are you going to store it in a wallet? Are you going to store it in a centralized exchange? Custody solution? What you're going to pick up? And it sounds like a good problem to have, but it is still a problem which requires a solution because there are many inherent risks. For example, if you store it on a centralized exchange, well, your exchange can freeze your account and that's it. You will not be able to prove anything because it's a centralized platform. If you store it on a wallet, then who owns the keys to the wallet? What happens if the wallet gets hacked? Do you get multi-sig? Because let's imagine something happens to the owner of this wallet and only he knows the secret key. That's not an ideal solution. And these problems require the thought process. Plus, when you would like to sell this XRP, at what price point, in what ratio do you sell like 1.5, $2, like 10% positions, or you start higher? And all this requires communication. And since everyone has different opinion in the team, we also have to find a balance how we will consider everyone's opinion and then see whether those are good ideas, bad ideas. Can we take bad ideas and beautify them to make those adaptable? Because even a bad idea can ultimately lead to something beautiful at the end of the day.
That's true.
And this was an actual challenge for us. So obviously we solved it. I am not going to disclose how we solved it, like where do we keep our XRPs or what's the strategy. But it was a challenge. And for a long time, it was something that we did not pay too much attention since XRP price was like 40, 50 cents. But obviously, once it started to grow up, we had to make sure that we stay responsible, we stay loyal to our ethos, and we still have XRP as a reserve currency. And what do we do next from here? And actually, one of the solutions here was try to see whether we can apply a REL USD. So now we actually take a REL USD for payments. And this eliminates a couple of solutions. For example, how do we sell XRP? Because now we don't have to do it. We can hold a REL USD in our reserves. It's stable and it's reliable. So that's also an elegant solution to a problem.
Mm-hmm. So we mentioned earlier that on Web3 and the ecosystem that we work on, there is not a 9 to 5. Like until your head starts blowing and then your eyes are hurting a lot, and until you need to touch some grass or when you finish a task. How do you unwind after a tough day on working on this project? Like, is there a ritual or a hobby that you follow or that keeps you grounded?
So obviously I do go outside and I do touch grass, even something simple like going to the shop, shopping for groceries or something else. It obviously time outside, plus extra exercise. You still have to do your 10,000 steps or whatever your goal is. I do go to the gym. I go to the cinemas. Usually I prefer to actually play. We even do this with our team members. We have regular evening Fortnite games. So we play. We still chat about the work sometimes, but it's usually between like covering me and like, oh, I have great idea for XPMarket, but like keep covering me while I explain it to
you. That's amazing. So like, do you work out every day or like sometimes?
Well, I try to work out every day. Obviously, sometimes when you have a day packed of meetings, you have to skip it. Well, not a big deal, but having something like a routine, which I'm quite terrible at routines, but having it, it's still quite good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I really like that you are super active on Twitter about XRPL. You have a lot of questions. You are active. So my question is, if you could change anything or add something to XRP Ledger, Either that's a technical feature on the network or the ecosystem as a whole. What would be?
Oh, most of the times I will always say it is batch transactions. It is super important. And the whole reason for that is we have to make a way for developers to monetize their work. On most blockchains, developers earn revenue by charging a fee for using their services. So, for example, on Uniswap, whenever you trade, Uniswap can deduct a fee from you. It's like 0.2%. I don't remember right now. Have not used Uniswap for ages, but there is a fee that you pay and it goes to treasury or whatever. And the more volume you as a company generate, the more profit goes to you. Even something like pump.fun, they also charge 1% fee, and they were among the most revenue generating companies in the blockchain. So that's great. They have a tool to monetize, and this tool is essentially native to the blockchain. Of course, you have to write a smart contract, but you can do that, and this allows you to monetize. On XRP Ledger, we see a problem where developers struggle to monetize their work. If they want to do so, they have to employ something like centralized or semi-centralized solutions where they will forcefully take the fee from your wallet or from the transaction. And usually they will require to make two separate transactions for that. And this limits the interest of people who would like to come here, because we definitely know that there are a lot of developers who can build amazing stuff, but there is no initiative for them because no one wants to come here, spend money, and do not receive any money to cover their basic living needs. We are not talking to make them millionaires or make super rich out of that, but it has to be a work because people do put work in development, and every work has to be paid. And if they can't be paid, there is no incentive to keep building. So I will say make make a feature to allow people monetization. Whether it's batch transaction or something else doesn't really matter, but it has to be there.
So, what are some your personal challenges as an XRP Ledger builder, and how could someone help you in this ecosystem?
So as a builder, we often face one of the major challenges. How do we attract new users? And when we talk about XRP Ledger, our pool of new users is usually centered around XRP holders, because if we have a person who holds XRP, he is at least somewhat familiar with XRP itself and already has XRP. So it's easier to take him and convert into XRP Ledger user. So that means he will actually come to the ledger and start interacting with dApps. For example, from what we see, only around 10% of all wallets who interact with blockchain interact with dApps. So 10% is not really a lot, because on something like Telegram Open Network, last time I checked, this number was close to 70-75%. So you can imagine that 3 out of 4 people do actually interact with dApps rather than simply send ton from one wallet to another. We want to achieve at least, let's say, 20% to begin with. And once we have this number, we'll already be able to generate more revenue. This will allow us to build more tools. Plus, there will be an audience who will actually have to build those tools for. You don't want to build something that no one is using. So it's not satisfactory as to a builder.
Mm-hmm. So my last question is, why would you recommend the XRP Ledger to other developers?
Whenever someone comes to us and asks whether we should build on XRP Ledger, I always try to stay honest. And my first question is always, what are you building? Because if you're building something that requires complex logic, which you cannot solve without smart contracts, then I have to simply honestly say that XRP Ledger is a nice blockchain, but probably it is not suitable for your needs. It does not mean the blockchain is bad. It's just not for your business. But if someone comes, for example, let's say super simple example, someone comes with a meme coin and says, should I use XRP Ledger for my meme coin? And the answer is like, yes, 100%. XRP Ledger is actually perfect for your meme coin because you want many people to trade your token. Transaction fee are super cheap. You do not need smart contracts in most cases. No meme coins I know require smart contracts logic. And we don't have those. You don't need those. That's a perfect match. You have a blockchain built DEX that makes sure that you will not have to go to Uniswap, create a liquidity pool on Uniswap, then on PancakeSwap, then on Trader Joe or something else. You can have one pool and it will be already aggregated. So that's also a great feature. So overall, I definitely can recommend developers build on XRP Ledger, but I will always ask follow-up questions whether the blockchain is actually suitable for them.
Suitable for them, yeah. Okay, so these were all the questions I had. Thank you for your time, Artur.
Thank you for watching. If you want to see more from the XRP Ledger Developer Series, please like and subscribe. Thank you.